To learn more about the obstacles veterans and their families struggle with, we are joined by Armando Hernandez, the Senior Director of Home Base Florida. Welcome, Mr. Hernandez.
Thanks for having me.
So we know for over a decade, Home Base, which is a nonprofit, has been working to heal the invisible wounds of war with veterans here locally. I want to understand what the biggest obstacles you see facing veterans right now when they return home. We often hear about PTSD, but you were telling me earlier that you're seeing really traumatic brain injuries really coming into focus.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest obstacles veterans face is really the education of their health care, right? And so PTSD is a big part of that. I think we've learned a lot about PTSD over the number of years, but there's still a stigma attached with it, and there's still a lot that we need to learn. But to your point, we have seen a drastic surge around brain injuries, right? And we know that those are common from IEDs or blast, big explosions that somebody might be near. And those are common, but what we're also learning is that a lot of small concussive events over an entire military career can have a lot of similar effects. And it's challenging because the symptoms and the signs of traumatic brain injury can be very similar to that of PTSD, so they're often confused. But what we really need and what Home Base is focusing on doing is developing better evaluation and treatment programs that can distinguish the two and make sure that we're addressing the right needs.
So we're in Mental Health Awareness Month, and of course it's a time to remind the whole community that, the importance of getting care when you need it. Is there a bigger challenge in getting care to veterans because of, the understanding or maybe the sense that if they got care previously, it might have impacted their military career?
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's a stigma in the military about, seeking help because it could damage your career, or maybe just the perception of seeking help. So some of the challenges with that are certainly overcoming the stigma, overcoming potential trust issues or barriers that could be there. So what I think is important to do is ensure that you're not just offering those clinical programs to veterans and their families, but perhaps you're providing surrounding programs. For instance, we offer a health and fitness program where we focus solely on getting physically fit again, stronger, faster, lose some body weight, right? And taking care of yourself physically is a very non-stigmatizing way to start self-care. And so for us, oftentimes we'll get veterans in the door by taking them to the gym, taking them to a baseball game, just hanging around with other veterans. And then after some time, when they learn to meet some friends, when they meet the staff, when they start trusting the process, they'll often reach out and seek that help.
We know you work very hard to help veterans here heal locally, but we were talking earlier and you said this cannot just be an issue that you're tackling or the Veterans Administration is tackling, that you want to see the private sector really help. What needs to happen?
Sure, yeah. So I think a lot of times people look at these injuries that the veteran population is facing, and I think the VA's got it. And the VA is doing a wonderful job, and they're doing as good as they can. But that's one entity, and this is a problem that's too big for any one entity to take on. And for far too long, the private sector has been absent, assuming that the VA can handle this. And so Home Base is a private nonprofit organization. We work with other private nonprofits, private for-profit organizations to really focus on saying, well, what can we do to help fill the gaps that the VA might not be able to do, or that the VA needs assistance with. And so for us, it's about filling the gaps. It's about ensuring that veterans don't come home to programs like Home Base or programs like the VA. They come home to communities, and it really is going to take a community effort to get behind these initiatives that are really going to solve these problems for this population.
Mr. Hernandez, we thank you for the work that you do, and we thank you for your service.
Thanks so much for having me.
Thank you.